So Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by Hannah Rankin. Hannah, how are you?
Doing really well, thanks. Yeah.
Glad to hear it. Um, just a month ago, you made your, I don't want to say welterweight debut because you were just over the championship limit, but as close to welter as you've ever been in your pro career. Before
Yeah.
we talk about the fight itself, how was the process of getting down to that weight in training?
I think for me, it went really well. I couldn't have asked for a better weight cut, to be honest. I was really wanting to make sure that I didn't have to rush any of it or get to the last bit and feel under pressure. So as soon as it was, I think it was 27th of December, I just went onto the diet and started focusing on that. And actually, I made it quite easily, to be honest. And I could have made the championship limit on the day if I'd had to.
Well, that's good news going forward. I mean, it might seem strange to people out there that your previous fight you challenged for a world title up at middleweight, and you've dropped down two whole weights. Is it a change that was long overdue? Do you think?
So I think like we were talking about this in my team, was saying like obviously I was probably always a welterweight, but the opportunities just weren't around then, and so I just stayed at super welter. I've gone up to middle and stuff as that as well. So yeah, no, I think it was definitely long overdue, and I feel great at welterweight. It really suits me, and I actually enjoy being at the weight. So yeah, no, I'm quite excited to see where I can go from here.
And how did it come about, the fight itself? Obviously in South Africa, Colosa Dobieni, in a prison hall, I believe, as well. So how did that all come together?
So basically, my manager, Sam Kinnock, he's been working with Fight Africa Promotions. He is part of this company. He's a CEO for them. And it's to basically build between Scotland and Africa an opportunity to get fighters fighting over here in the UK and also for us to fight over there. So it came about, and actually everything went really well. We were fighting in Polesmore Correctional Unit, is their prison,
Yeah.
but it's actually not in their prison. So at the back of it is where all the guards stay, and there's like a huge hall and stuff like that for sports entertainment and stuff like that. So we were actually using that venue, but it just so happened to be as part of the Polesmore Correctional Unit.
So you weren't actually near some of the most dangerous criminals in South Africa.
I think I was near enough that I'd want to be, but yeah.
Yeah,
No, I didn't meet any of them.
yeah. Good. I'm relieved. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, fairly comfortable victory on the night for people that saw it. I know a lot of people in the UK did get the chance to see it, which is great.
yeah.
Where do you go from here? You've now presumably going to get a ranking, no pun intended, at 147 pounds. What are you aiming for next up?
So the goal me and my team discussed this year is to try and get 3 fights and hopefully finish the year with a title of sorts, maybe European, Commonwealth, or WBC silver, something like that. Really want to have 3 good fights at this weight, so I'm feeling confident at it and everything. I mean, I feel really good. I'm really happy with how the first fight went. So, like a lot of those boxes have been ticked. How do I make the weight? How do I feel? And all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, really happy with that. But that's the goal, and then put myself into a good position to challenge for a 147 world title, one of the big four.
How do you feel the depth at 147 compares to middleweight where you were competing previously?
Oh, there's a lot more fighters. It's actually something that I'm quite excited about because now I'm in a new weight class. I've got whole access to a whole load more fighters that I probably didn't have access to before. So it kind of gives me a lot more options. At middleweight and super welter is a bit better, but at middleweight, there's just a lot less people and the availability of fighters and trying to get fights organized. And if somebody falls out, then, trying to get a replacement is really hard work. So, yeah, it's quite exciting to be at a weight where there's a lot more people.
And there's currently an undisputed champion at the weight, of course, in Jessica McCaskill, who retained her titles against the former champion, Cecilia Brækhus, got that rematch victory not too long ago. Do you expect her to reign for a long time with all four, or do you think she'll give up some of the belts, they'll become fragmented?
So I foresee her chasing the Katie Taylor rematch. I think that's something that she's probably going to want to do. Obviously, I think her team have talked about it quite a lot. So I don't know what will happen, whether or not she will vacate the titles and go down to fight Katie Taylor for, a super lightweight or lightweight or whatever. But yeah, otherwise I see her staying there. There's some great people to challenge for those titles at welterweight. So, I think it's exciting that we've got a unified champion, but obviously if she does go down, the belts become vacant. So, we'll have to see what happens then.
And you mentioned Katie Taylor there. There was a lot of talk in the last few months about a match between her and your friend Clarissa Shields, of course, which always seemed a bit of a long shot. And then Katie came out, I think it was this week, and said it's probably never going to happen. You know, the weight disparity is just too large. Is that something you'd go along with? I mean, Clarissa looks like a big girl for getting down to welter.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd be well impressed if she got down to welterweight, but obviously if she's going to be doing 147, that's quite a big jump again. She made super welter easy this time around. Obviously, with the MMA things, I think she's going to be fighting 155 for MMA. So yeah, getting down to 147 is hard, and I understand what Katie's saying there. Like there is a big difference. Even when Katie fought Christina Linadatu at super lightweight, she still looks smaller than Christina.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so I think she looked really a lot. There'll be a huge size disparity between her and Clarissa.
Yeah, you would think if Katie's ever going to go up to welter, it'd be against McCaskill, simply because she's already beaten her, so it's not like fighting an unknown quantity at welter.
Yeah, exactly, and also it was like the thing that I found interesting was the last fight for Cecilia and Jessica. It was at 145, and it was like contracted at that. Now I don't believe that that's a full 147 welterweight world title, and it's a bit strange that Cecilia gave up those 2 pounds to fight at 145, and it just shows that McCaskill is small for the weight, like she is small for welter. It would make sense if Katie stepped up then and potentially has the opportunity to become a 3-weight world champion, but that's the only opponent I really see at welterweight for her to be going up against for size wise. Because if she was going to come up to welterweight and there's us coming down from super welter and stuff, we're just a lot bigger. And we're making welterweight, but we've got all the size, height, reach advantages and everything like that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
And that's if Katie, of course, gets through her fight first against Natasha Jonas, which very intriguing. There's been a bit of a kind of debate on social media about whether it should have been the main event of a Sky Sports box office show that is officially topped by Joseph Parker and Derek Chisora. What did you make of that whole debate?
I 100% believe they should be headlining the show. I know we're all about this whole old-fashioned idea, like we've got the heavyweights, so they should be headlining the show. If they were fighting for some unified titles like Katie and Tasha are fighting for, then I would understand them being at the top of the bill. But I don't understand why Katie and Tasha aren't topping the bill with the fight that they're having and for the titles that are on the line. It just should be the case that they are headlining because it's the most exciting fight. So, yeah.
And as we're talking about it, how do you see that fight panning out?
I think it's a really good fight. I think it's something that would have been interesting had it happened a bit earlier. Now there's a lot of other things coming into play, like the wear and tear of the Pursoon fights on Katie. And then also, did Tash Jonas put it all out there when she was fighting Terry Harper? Is she going to produce another great performance like that? So I think those are kind of ideas. And obviously Tash is meant to be quite a puncher and Katie's fast. So, it's going to be an exciting fight. I'm quite looking forward to it, to be honest.
Do you think I'm not going to ask you for a prediction? You're not getting away with it that easily. Who's going to come out on top?
I really want Tasha to do it. I think based on her last performance, she's got it in the tank and she's going to bring it for the whole 10 rounds. But I think I'm going to err on the side of a points decision for Katie. But my heart is with Tasha, 100%.
And you said earlier you want to get 3 fights this year. When should we expect to see you back out next?
So I've really got some exciting fight news that I'm desperate to tell everybody, but I can't tell anyone yet because of all the boring sort of dotting the I's and crossing the T's sort of thing. But yes, it's looking like I'm probably going to be back out in South Africa again. And hopefully fighting in the next couple of months. So maybe end of May, June time. So just waiting for things to be finalised.
I'm sure if we look on BoxRec, it won't be too difficult to work out who the opponent might be, but I'm not sure.
It's not there just yet.
No, I know. But I mean, if we look at the rankings and stuff, we'll see.
Yeah.
People watching, go and do your own investigations. We'll see if we can
do a bit of homework.
Yeah. And just before I let you go, we ask you this pretty much every time, but just tell people out there how they can find you on the different social media platforms.
So I made it nice and easy for everyone because I'm terrible with technology. So if you want to find me on Instagram or Twitter, it's team_Rankin. And then you can access that on both those accounts. And then I have a professional Facebook page as well. So if you want to use that, just look up Hannah Rankin, professional boxer, and I do appear.
I meant to ask as well, and I forgot. You did your performance with your quintet, is it, at
Yeah.
St Pancras not too long ago? We saw the pictures on Twitter. Just tell
Yeah.
us how that came about. It's good that you're keeping busy in both spheres during the pandemic.
Well, it was so nice to actually be able to rehearse with my quintet again and actually do a live performance that went out live to a live audience as well. It was across Zoom, and we worked together with a company called Live Music Now, and they do a lot of concerts. Like before the pandemic, we were going into care homes and into schools to do interactive concerts for everybody. And it's been really sad not being able to do any of that. So this was the first one back, and it was streamed live from the top of the St Pancras Clock Tower, which is an awesome venue. And yeah, no, we had this great bunch of people on the other side in a care home. It's actually a care home for entertainers, so they had a whole history of like in the acting world and stuff like that. So it was a really great experience. So hopefully, as things open up, we're going to get back into those care homes to see everybody. So it'd be great.
You should do next time you go out to South Africa, if it's the same venue, you should go to the actual prison and do a little performance for them. I'm sure they're desperate for entertainment.
Absolutely. You know, like obviously when I go for a fight, like I need the extra luggage allowance for the bassoon as well, of course.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll catch up again soon, but we look forward to hearing your fight news when it's announced. And best of luck at welterweight.
Like, yeah, thanks so much, Danny. Cheers.
Cheers, Hannah. Take care.